Hello YouTube, this is Daz the Cameraman. Today is Monday the 2nd of December 2013. Today we're having a look at a couple of videos by DarkSkyWatcher74, Tree of Might, also called Wake Up America on Facebook. Dark Skywatcher has posted two videos on his channel about 4 objects that he was tracking through his telescope. I saw this broadcast via his Ustream channel. He had posted an alert on his Facebook page to say that he was tracking these 4 objects in his deep space camera, 30th of November 2013. I tuned into the broadcast to see what was happening, and we could see that he was tracking some objects through his telescope, and we can see them here as the stars 1, 2, 3 stars move past the field of view, and we can see these objects here, 1, 2, 3, 4 that he is tracking. I worked with Dark Skywatcher by asking him questions in the text chat on his Ustream channel, and from the information that he gave me, I was able to positively identify these 4 objects as being 4 geosynchronous satellites. Now, over the last few days it's concerned me somewhat that these 2 videos that he has uploaded had no description of what these objects actually were until recently, since I've been on his case. He has now added the description of these objects in the second video, this one here. The chase, your adventure starts here, tracking 4 objects. Okay, now originally the description here made no mention of what these objects were. This is all that we saw in the description, and obviously no mention in the title. Since I've been on his case on Facebook, and I'll come to that later, we can see that he has actually added the identity of these 4 objects, which is the information that I gave him. Now, it was only when I really got on his case, and I'll show you the messages, and that was his response. I'll just go back to what I asked him. I sent him a message on Facebook and said, "Hey dude, how come you have made no mention of the fact that these 4 objects were positively identified during your Ustream broadcast?" I identified these 4 objects as being 4 geosynchronous satellites, EchoStar 17, Anik FR1, Anik G1 and Anik F1. You even agreed with my findings because I was able to tell you the right ascension, declination and altitude and azimuth coordinates of these objects, and you confirmed that the data that I gave you was the same as your telescope settings. So why have you not mentioned this information? Are you deliberately trying to make this sound more mysterious than it really is? Why are you hiding the truth about the identity of these objects? Why haven't you given the data in the description of your video? By the way, these 4 objects were not in deep space as your title suggests. They were in geosynchronous Earth orbit of approximately 37,000 kilometers altitude. And he responded by saying, because it's in the 3-hour video that we identified them. I mean, come on dude, you can't burn people right off the bat with that. You got to let them take a ride for a little bit and enjoy it. It is in the video that they were identified as satellites, so don't worry, no one is duping anyone. Well, my concern with that, of course, was that the second video that makes it clear what's actually going on is actually nearly 3 hours long. Here it is, 2 hours and 54 minutes. And there are long pauses in it, and I don't think it's really realistic that most people would be sitting through a 3-hour video to take it all in and find out the truth about what these objects were. But anyway, here's a little bit of audio, and we'll have a listen to a short piece of the recording. This is a clip from later in the video. The timeline in Audacity here corresponds with the timeline in the video. So we're starting at 2 hours 26 minutes and 42 seconds into the video.
Oh, that was a fun ride, Robert. I had someone else that I know got up in here that's knowledgeable. That was helping me out because I was busy tracking with the telescope. He was doing some digging through the files, because I couldn't find any objects in my stellarium. He couldn't find any in his Starry Night. So he ended up downloading the entire catalog, and we finally identified him as a grouping of satellites in geosynchronous orbit. I have the names of them somewhere in here. I saved them somewhere, but it was a fun ride, man. Even though they ended up being satellites, it was awesome, dude. You know what I mean? It's always fun. I think you're onto something big. You know, it doesn't matter if it turned out to be satellites or whatever, man. It was still fun for me.
Okay, so there's a clip confirming that we're able to identify what the objects were. Now there's something else I'd like to show you where I think that Dark Skywatcher has not been very honest with us. Dark Skywatcher started off his viewing in the Orion Nebula in this case, as he often does, and while he was looking at Orion and had his telescope tracking Orion, he noticed that these 4 objects came into view, and here they come now. 1, 2, 3, 4 objects. And so he tracked them over a period of, it sounds like, a couple of hours. He'd already been tracking them for at least 20 minutes when he put out his alert. Then he tracked them for at least another hour, which is when I became involved. Now, the view that we're looking at the moment is actually tracking the stars. Okay, so that means that the telescope is tracking the stars as the Earth turns. Now, when these objects, and I'll just bring them into view a little bit faster here, when these objects came into view and he saw them, he decided to supposedly track these objects. Now, just how did he go about doing that? Well, all he actually had to do was turn off the tracking on his telescope. So in other words, he was no longer tracking the stars, he'd actually turned off the tracking on his telescope. Because these are geosynchronous satellites in Earth orbit, they're in a fixed position in the sky, which means all he has to do is point his telescope in their direction and they don't move. But he claims that he was tracking these objects. He wasn't tracking these objects at all. His telescope was just moving with the Earth turning, and in that way his telescope was able to follow them. In fact, if he turned his tracking on, then we see that we follow the stars and lose sight of the objects themselves. So why is this such a big deal? I believe that Dark Skywatcher knew very well what these objects were, because I had already explained to him about 3 or 4 weeks earlier that 3 other satellites that he had spotted, or 3 other objects that he had spotted cutting through the Orion Nebula, were actually satellites, and I positively identified them for him. But it seems that he wanted to carry on with this ruse because it's good for views. So when he saw these 4 geosynchronous satellites come into view, he just thought he would play it along, and as we saw in his reply to me on Facebook, he just thought it would be good to take people for a ride, as he put it. Now, we've seen before that Dark Skywatcher has not been very honest in some of his videos. We saw about this time last year, when he was talking about the planets Jupiter and Saturn having completely tilted on their sides, as he claimed, that he actually stole an image from the Singapore Observatory and included it in one of his own videos, and claimed that he took it himself through his own telescope earlier that day or the previous night. Now, we were able to track that image down to the Singapore Observatory, and they actually confirmed that it was their image, and Dark Skywatcher subsequently removed his video, but not before trying to take my channel down with some false copyright claims. I think it's time that Dark Skywatcher's actions were really called into question. I'm going to put a list of links of videos in the description area of this video exposing his antics, because we've investigated a number of his videos and his claims, and I think that these videos will make for very interesting viewing. This is not about sour grapes or anything like that, it's about honesty. DarkSkyWatcher74, Tree of Might, Wake Up America, has been caught out a number of times now, faking images in his videos and making false claims. And it's time that he was put under the microscope again. As always, do check out my Facebook discussion page, Voices of Reason to Explain X or Vortex. You'll find a link in the description area. Thank you for watching.